The moose, elk, and bighorn sheep application deadline is nearing. We are visiting with Wildlife Division Chief Casey Anderson to go over all the details in this week's program. I'm Mike Anderson with the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. Casey, when is the Big Three deadline? And explain to our viewers, what is the Big Three?
Yeah, so the Big Three deadline is March 27th. And that'll be, people's opportunity to apply for one of these licenses. And, we call them the Big Three because they're kind of a big deal, right? Like moose, elk, bighorn sheep, once in a lifetime opportunities for folks that get drawn. A lot of times, people will think that it's once in their lifetime they're going to get drawn, but realistically, many of us may never get drawn. But yeah, once you get drawn for one of those licenses, that's the only license for that species that you can have in your lifetime. And so we got the big three opportunities, so to speak.
Well, let's talk about the Big Three, Casey. Let's talk about elk first. How are elk numbers looking this year compared to last year as far as tags?
So yeah, we're actually increasing elk tags a fair bit, and that is mainly up in the Northeast. We have one unit out west that we increased just a little bit, but for the most part, the elk out west have stabled pretty good with their population, which is what we want. But we just have certain areas, elk run around in herds, and so if they're in the wrong area at the wrong time, they can be in overabundance in a small area. And so we still like to keep the pressure on and get good harvest, and there's opportunity to harvest some of those critters for hunters. The big increase, we went from, we added about 230 licenses, so now we're a total of 833. And a lot of those were cow licenses, but there were some any tags that were increased too, but that's mostly up in the Northeast. We have one area, and that's partly because we didn't have an opportunity to increase them last year because we did kind of a unique little survey up there with a company that did infrared survey to give us good information. Those elk, especially in the Turtle Mountains, are extremely difficult to survey with the canopy cover and things like that. And so this infrared technology that we used showed that we had been underestimating the number of elk in that area. But it came out later than our proclamation was out last year, and so we weren't able to use that data to increase tags last year, but we did increase them a small amount. So now, this year we're going to bump that quite a bit and see if we can't get some more harvest up there.
Okay, Casey, there are some things hunters can do when putting in for these once-in-a-lifetime opportunities as far as better in their odds to be drawn. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so especially with elk and moose, obviously. For bighorn sheep, your odds are your odds. It's not going to get any better. We only allow rams to be taken for bighorn sheep. But for moose and elk, we do have those antlerless, or what we consider kind of cow licenses. They are easier to draw in many units, depending on the unit. An elk unit may be higher than 50% draw up for a antlerless tag. If you're going after the coveted bull tags and things, those are the ones that are a pretty low chance of being drawn. But as they say, there's a chance. So if you really want to just try to hunt elk in North Dakota and you don't care if it's a bull or a cow, those antlerless tags are a good opportunity to potentially get drawn. And so the one thing, especially with cow elk, is it's not like hunting whitetail antlerless doe.
It's more
deer.
difficult.
Yeah, it's probably more difficult to shoot a cow than it is to shoot a bull. They're usually very herd animals, and so it's not just one set of eyes, it's a whole bunch of eyes. But we just want people to be prepared for that because, they are choosing to use their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do that. And so, do a little research. If you've never hunted elk before, talk to some people that have hunted elk. You can call our biologists, and they'll kind of help you with some information. But yeah, it's a unique opportunity to try to get in on.
And the terrain. I mean, you have to be in somewhat decent shape to be going after moose and elk and bighorn sheep.
Yeah, it can be, depending on how hard you want to make it. You can make a moose hunt as hard as you want or as easy as you want. We have moose that live along the Missouri River by the Yellowstone confluence out there, kind of south of Williston. And that's probably the moose hunt in North Dakota that's going to look like an Alaska moose hunt. You're going to be down in the willows, they're going to be hard to see, you're going to be close sometimes. So that's probably the hardest way to do it if you wanted to apply for that unit. When you get into some of these agricultural units, and if you get out there and talk to some landowners, a moose hunt can be fairly easy if you can find them. Finding them's the biggest thing. They're big animals, but they hide pretty well. Now, when you get into elk or bighorn sheep, in a lot of cases, you're talking about critters that are in the Badlands, in the rough stuff, or in the Turtle Mountains or the Pembina Gorge area. Those are some pretty big expanses of forest and things like that that are, for one, not easy to navigate in and not easy to see in. So yeah, it can be physically challenging.
Okay, let's move into Unit E6. That's the MOU with the Standing Rock Reservation. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's the unique E6 here south of Mandan, essentially Sioux County. There's a pocket of really unique habitat in Sioux County within Standing Rock Reservation called the Porcupine Hills. And it is really some pretty unique stuff. And you get into that area of Standing Rock Reservation and Sioux County, you get kind of a mix of land ownership. So over time, there's been some elk that have started to populate down in that neat habitat, and some of the neighboring landowners, of course, that are non-tribal members and own land that is outside of jurisdiction for Standing Rock. So that falls under North Dakota jurisdiction as far as licensing and dealing with those critters. And so some of those landowners were starting to contact us going, hey, we've got too many elk here. I'm getting, whether the fences are getting knocked down or what that is. And so we started talking to those landowners and then started talking to Standing Rock tribe, really trying to figure out how we can manage these elk. Realistically, as far as tribal game and fish and North Dakota game and fish goes, we're all in it for the critters and the opportunity. And so it was really kind of a fairly easy conversation. It's like, how do we manage this best? What limitations do each one of us have? So our MOU takes over. We go up and we do the flights and the survey for that to kind of track the population. That population has been stable. And so we're going to recommend the same number of licenses. And so moving forward, yeah, that population seems to be kind of a unique opportunity. And the MOU allows, we're doing some of those surveys and things like that, and then the tribe is allowing those folks that draw that state license for E6 to hunt on the tribal property with permission from the tribe. So they have to check in at the Tribal Game and Fish Office, and then go from there if they get drawn. Or they can hunt that private land that's non-tribally owned with that state license.
Okay, plenty of opportunities then.
Yep.
Casey, how about moose numbers? Licenses available this year compared to last year. Where are we at with that?
Yeah, so moose have been kind of unique. We have those units up in the Northeast that are still closed. Yep. And the moose just have not bounced back in those Pembina Gorge, Bottineau County kind of areas. But moose have really done well out on the prairie, which has been kind of an anomaly actually. But we actually, to the point where we were trying to push that population in a downward trend. Moose are really big critters. They get in town, they cause issues. They get in farmsteads, they cause issues. And so part of it is we as North Dakotans, if we want a lot of moose around, we have to learn how to live with them at some level. But also we have to manage that population, and we felt like we had gotten to the point where the population was really robust, but social acceptance had hit some sort of level that we needed to push that population down a little bit. And so this year we offered 15 less licenses than last year, down to 242 across the state. But yeah, still a pretty good opportunity.
Okay, let's move into bighorn sheep. Bighorn sheep population last couple of years has been doing pretty well. But explain the whole process when applying for the Big 3 for bighorn sheep.
Yeah, so bighorn sheep a little unique. You apply for it, and we don't determine the number of licenses until later in the summer, beginning of fall, that August, September type of time frame. Part of that is due to we've had pneumonia outbreaks in the past, and so one year I think we actually closed the season because of a pneumonia outbreak, and so that's why we went to this. And sometimes those pneumonia outbreaks happen in the summer, so it gets kind of hard, but our sheep populations are doing really well. We have an MOU with 3 affiliated tribes up along the Little Missouri Arm, where we help them transport some bighorn sheep and establish a population up there. And actually that MOU is going to start coming to fruition here fairly quickly as that population gets to a huntable state where a few of those can be taken out. We're going to alternate with 3 affiliated tribes. They would get a license, and then the state would get a license that a state hunter through our process could get drawn for and hunt up there on the 3 affiliated tribes population. And so yeah, we go out, our bighorn sheep biologist, Brett Weidman, is out there. Well, sometimes we think he lives with them, but he's out there, counting lambs, counting reproduction, classifying rams to see how many we think we have that we can take out of the population. And then we determine how many that's going to be come August. So you apply first, and then we just generate the luckiest list in the world, as some would call it, and start calling those folks. And if somebody would turn us down, we'd go to the next one on the list, but nobody has yet.
Casey, how can somebody apply? What's the easiest way for somebody to apply? And again, when is the deadline?
Yeah, so the deadline again is March 27th, and the best way, you obviously have to apply online. Our systems are all online now, but so you can get on our general webpage, go through it. If you have our app, you can apply through the app. My guess is there'll be some news releases that come out as we get closer to the deadline, or as the lottery is going on, and so there'll probably be a quick link in that, would be my guess. And so yeah, lots of ways to apply, and you just get online and put your information in, pick your units, and cross your fingers.
A lot of great information, Casey. Thank you.
Yep.